Hello viewers, I am Dr. Mondra Borthapusakia, Assistant Professor, Department of Home Science, MTK Girls College, Dibrugarh, Assam. Today, I am going to present before you about Introduction to Textile. After going through these presentations, the students will be able to know basic concept of textiles, definitions of fiber, yarn and fabric, properties of fiber, classification of fiber, yarn making and types of yarns, fabric construction and finishes of fabric. Now, let us know about textiles. The word textiles comes from the Latin word texo, which means to weave. A study of textiles means the study of the process by which the cloth is produced. Before going to the main topic, we have to know textile fiber, yarn and fabric. A fiber is the smallest part of a fabric. It is fine hair-like substance. Fiber is a fundamental unit used in manufacturing of textile yarns and fabrics. Yarn is composed of a group of fiber laid in parallel and kept together by twisting or spinning to form fabric. To construct fabrics, interlacing yarn by the method of weaving and knitting or directly from fiber state. The qualify for use as a textile fiber possesses certain essential properties or characteristics. These essential properties of the fiber are called primary properties, and the properties, those that are desirable but not essential, is called secondary properties. Major role of the secondary properties is to increase consumer satisfaction with the ultimate fabric. These fibers' raw materials are classified into two classes based on their length. It may be filament or staple. Filament are natural or man-made fibers of continuous length measurable in yard and meters. It may be 200 meters to 2500 meters. Filament fibers are of two types, monofilament and multifilament. Monofilament fibers are made up of a single smooth solid strand. Multifilament fibers are composed of a number of tiny filaments twisted together. Staple fibers are short in length and measurable in centimeter or inches. The length varies between 3/4 of an inch to 18 inches or 0.5 centimeter to 56 centimeter. Fibers are classified on the basis of sources which are obtained from into two major types, natural and man-made. Fibers which are derived from different sources of nature are termed as natural fibers. Some of them are obtained from seeds, roots, barks, leaves of the plant, some from animals and some other from mineral rock. So natural fibers again classified into three categories such as vegetable fibers, animal fibers and mineral fibers. Vegetable fibers found in the cell wall of plants are cellulosic in composition. Animal fibers are derived from the hair of animal, saliva of silk, worm, etc. Minerals are inorganic materials derived from mineral rock and shape into fibers. This is used more for industrial purpose than for clothing or household fabrics. Yarn is the term used for a continuous thread which is made by twisting together a group of fibers. Yarn is an intermediate stage between the fiber and fabric. Spinning is the process of making yarn from fibers. The twisting process by which fibers are formed into a yarn is referred to as spinning. While making yarn, fibers are not only twisted but also pulled out or drawn. This process of drawing and twisting is called spinning. Yarn is a strand of fibers laid and twisted together by the process of spinning. Method of yarn making. To making yarn, fibers are twisted together by a process called spinning. There are two methods of spinning: mechanical spinning and chemical spinning. Mechanical spinning may be done using spindle, spinning wheel and spinning machine. The spindle and the spinning wheel are operated manually, that is by hand, and the yarn produced is called a handmade yarn. A spinning machine is operated by electricity and thus a machine-made yarn is produced. Several machines are used to complete the process of spinning. In chemical spinning, a chemical solution forms the raw materials for man-made fibers. This solution is passed through a device having a number of small holes. This device is called a spinneret. The chemical solution is forced out of the holes of the spinneret. It solidifies as soon as it comes in contact with the air, thus forming filaments. Types of yarns. Yarns can be made either from short length fibers or from long length fibers. Therefore, according to length of fiber, we can say there are two types of yarn: staple yarn and filament yarn. Staple yarn are made from short length fiber and measurable in inches and range from 3/4 of an inch to 18 inch in length. All natural yarns except silk are example of staple yarn. Filament yarns made from long length filaments fibers. Filaments are natural or man-made fibers of continuous length, measurable in yard or meters. Filaments yarns require less twisting to hold them together and give a most lustrous and smoother appearance. Filaments yarns are of two types: monofilaments and multifilaments. Monofilaments are filaments yarn composed of one single filament. These are made up of a single smooth solid strand. Multifilaments are composed of a number of tiny filaments twisted together. The size and number of filament can vary widely. Multifilaments are made up of two or more single yarn twisted together. These are known as ply yarn. Yarns can be made either normal appearance or fancy appearance. Therefore, according to appearance of yarns, we can say there are two types of yarns: simple yarns and complex yarns. Simple yarns may be single strand yarn composed of one continuous length of fibers with or without twist, or they may be multiple strand or ply composed of two or more strands twisted together, or two or more of these ply or multiple strand yarn may be combined together into a cord or cable yarn. Single ply simple yarn comprise the bulk of our fabrics. Ply or multiple strand simple yarn are used to give added strand to cloths such as voile and certain materials. Simple yarns are used for the construction of everyday personal and household clothing. When yarns of different colors and thickness are twisted together, there are no intimate intermingling of the fibers so that each color or yarn is seen separately. The threads are twisted together to break the continuity of the resultant yarn and produce effects which are out of ordinary. Different count, colors and also different materials are combined in various ways in the complex or fancy or novelty yarns. The structure of complex or fancy yarn is characterized by the irregular in size, color, twist and effect. They may be single or plied. Methods of fabric construction. Textile material or fabrics are basically constructed by using three different techniques such as weaving, knitting and non-woven. Weaving is a process of interlacing of two or more sets of yarn at right angles to each other. Weaving is a major method of fabric construction. Classification of weaves. There are three basic weaves such as plain weave, twill weave and satin weave. All other weaves are a variations or a combination of these weaves. The plain weave is the simplest of the weaves. It consists of interlacing warp and filling yarns in a patterns of over one and under one. The filling yarn moves over the first warp yarn, under the second, over the third, under the fourth and so on. Reeve and basket weave are two variations of plain weave. Interesting and attractive fabrics can be obtained from the plain weave by utilizing the reeve variation. In the basket weave, two or more yarn in either or both warp and filling yarn are treated as one and interlaced as in plain weave. Sometimes a modified basket weave utilizes a double yarn in one direction but not in the other. In the twill weave, the filling yarns float over and under the warp yarns in regular variations to form diagonal lines. The simplest twill weave is created by forming the set with two warp yarns up and one down is so arranged that each time the set is formed, the yarn is lifted and one yarn is to the right in a right hand twill and one yarn to the left in a left hand twill. Satin weave fabrics are made by allowing yarns to float over a number of yarn from the opposite direction. Interlacing are made at intervals such as over 4 under 1, over 7 under 1 or over 11 under 1. When the weave is warp phase called satin and when it is wave phase is called satin weave. In knitting, construction of fabric by forming the yarn into loops. Knitting can be carried out by two methods such as warp knit or flat knits and wave knits or tubular knits. The fabric thus produced will be warp or wave knit fabric depending on the production technique used. A wave knit is a knitted fabric in which the yarns producing the loops in the fabric are carried across the width of the fabric. Non-woven fabric. Non-woven are defined as fabric structures produced directly from the fibers by bonding or entangling the fibers or filaments by mechanical, thermal or chemical means. Use of the adhesive, heat, fusion or entanglement of the fiber may be carried out. The input material for non-woven are fibers, some kind of bonding agent and any auxiliary agent. Types of non-woven fabric. Felting. In felting, fibers are made directly into fabrics by pressed under steam. Bonded. Bonded are defined as materials made primarily of textile fibers held together by an applied bonding or adhesive agent or by the fusing of self-contained thermoplastic fibers. It is a method of bonding a non-woven web. Braiding. Flat or tubular fabrics are made by the method of braiding. Lacing. In lacing, yarns are twisted in pattern to make lace. Finishes of fabric. A finish is defined as anything that is done to fiber, yarn or fabric before or after weaving to change the appearance, feel, serviceability and durability. Objectives of finishes. Number 1, to make the material attractive. Number 2, to improve suitability and utility. Number 3, to produce variety. Number 4, to give weight. Number 5, to create different type of production of fabric. Classification of finishing process. Finishing process are of many types and these processes are classified in several ways, such as on the basis of degree of performance, on the basis of aesthetic and functional, and on the basis of textile processing. On the basis of performance, finishes are classified as permanent, durable, semi-durable, and temporary. A permanent finish generally involves a chemical process that changes the fiber structure so that it will not alter subsequently throughout the life of the fabric. A durable finish may last throughout the life of the fabric, but its effectiveness diminishes. A semi-durable finish will last through several laundering or dry cleanings. A temporary finish will be removed or subsequently reduced when the fabric is laundered or dry cleaned. Designers and sales personnel classify the finishes as aesthetic and functional. The aesthetic finishes affect the appearance of the fabric, but the functional ones improve the performance for specific purposes. For example, grease resistance and water repellent finishes fall the functional finishes. On the basis of textile processing, finishing are classified as chemical and mechanical. Chemical finishes are those in which chemical reactions by the treatments of alkalis, acid, bleaches, starch and resins produce a permanent change in the fabrics. These are referred to as wet finishes. Mechanical finishes causes a physical changes only. These are done by copper plated roller brushes, perforated cylinders, metal frames, or any type of mechanical equipments. Calendering and tentering are examples of mechanical finishes. As a whole, all finishes are classified into three categories such as preliminary treatment, mechanical finishes, and chemical finishes. Some preliminary treatments are essential for successful finishing. These are applied before the final finishes are given as the yarn or fabric that comes from the spinner, weaver, or knitter. The fiber contains impurities which are natural to the fibers, or it is oiled and maybe have oil stains. So it becomes necessary to give these treatments. These are bleaching, scoring, desizing, and seasoning. Mechanical finishes are beetling, brushing and shearing, sunforizing, calendering, crimping, glazing, moiring, napping, embossing, tentering, wetting, sizing and drilling. Some example of chemical finishes are moisturizing, grease resistance, crimping, waterproof, water repellent and fireproof. These are basic knowledge of fiber, yarn, fabric and finishes of fabrics. Thank you.